Well, Governor Cuomo will propose his state budget for the coming fiscal year tomorrow as the state faces a $6 billion budget deficit now.
That deficit is largely driven by the rising cost of Medicaid. But as we hear from Channel 2's Dave McKinley, the governor is staying mum for now as to how he specifically plans to close the gap.
So there's a lot of reasons why the cost of Medicaid has gone up.
Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, in between blaming the federal government and Cuomo's predecessor as governor who left office 10 years ago for the shortfall, noted additional factors, not the least of which has been an expansion of the Medicaid program, which covers medical costs for the poor and elderly, populations of which are growing in New York.
So we have more people being covered, cost more money. More people are taking advantages of services like substance abuse programs. Those people are getting expensive treatment that is life-saving and critically important. Much of that is covered by Medicaid. The cost of labor has gone up.
The governor notes that 6 years ago, when it imposed a property tax cap limiting the abilities of local governments to raise revenues, the state agreed to take on any additional growth in the cost of the Medicaid program. The rise in the cost of those programs has largely driven the deficit the state now faces. This is sparking concern among county leaders, including Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz, that the governor may propose raising the county's share of that burden to address it. During a conference call with reporters on his efforts to get as many people to complete the upcoming census as possible, to which we were invited to listen but were not among the news agencies selected to ask a question, Cuomo was asked about that. He spent 5 minutes explaining the deficit is not really a deficit.
And yes, we have to close a deficit, but a deficit is you're talking about projected growth.
But played what he has in mind to deal with it close to the vest.
To answer your question specifically, what are we going to do vis-a-vis local governments? I'll tell you tomorrow.
I think we should look long and hard at getting rid of waste and fraud, if that's possible.
Buffalo's Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who holds the powerful position of majority leader of the New York State Assembly, says she won't favor any cuts to services.
The purpose of government is serving the people. What is it that the people need? Those are the things that we need to make sure stay there.
We're going to see what the governor proposes tomorrow.
Although in prior interviews, Senator Tim Kennedy here, who is in the majority of the state Senate, suggested taxing the rich to help close the gap. Crystal Peoples-Stokes also talked about the attempts which are expected once again to legalize recreational marijuana in the state and the tax revenue that could bring in, although that is projected at nowhere near enough to close the budget gap and wouldn't be immediately available. Then, of course, there would be a big fight over how to carve that pie up. Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.